Hi, my name is Nariba Shepherd.
And I'm Justin Arnett Graham.
And this is Terms of Service.
Pew, pew, pew.
Listen. It's giving Barbie movie.
Okay.
I'm not going to explain it further.
Okay.
I'm just saying that.
Okay, so that's the vibe right now?
Yes, of that intro just now, yes. It was giving
okay.
Barbie movie.
Okay.
I'm not upset about it. I will not elaborate on it anymore.
Okay.
Sick.
Well, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I think that I'm starting to hit the Monday scaries, which is just like feeling crazy.
That's okay.
But I'm very excited for this part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
You know?
You mean like this episode specifically?
Yes.
And
well, it's
all that
because
this
like I'm not
conversation
going to
will
act like
entail.
we haven't been like talking about stuff before we sit down on the mic.
Yeah, well, I haven't been.
Well, that's because you went outside and I took
correct.
advantage of a situation.
It's fair. Well, we're just going to go
I'm
ahead
excited for more.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and revisit that. Go ahead. What are you staring at me for?
I don't know.
I was waiting for you to ask me how the hell I am.
Oh, I thought you were about to be like, I thought you were doing like a dramatic pause before you like said something sassy.
Yeah.
I misread that.
Yeah. Are you going to ask me how I am?
Now
Okay.
I am, yes.
Okay, well, I'm fine. Thank you so much for asking. But yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah?
And yeah.
Staying out of trouble?
I mean, I feel like I got into a little bit of trouble just now trying to ask you to ask me how I'm doing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How are you going to flip-flop that on me and make it seem like I was the bad guy?
Because it's a bop.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Fair
fine.
enough.
It's good.
Okay, so we have not talked about it yet, but Scandival.
Okay.
How are you feeling about the Vanderpump Rules saga and Tom Sandoval giving an interview without the consent of Bravo?
You know what? I'm not going to get into that because
all day long you're like, we're going to talk about stuff
I'm not
and
gonna
ask you one thing, and now you're like, meh.
Because the only thing that I am focused on in regards to that entire situation is Ariana. And it's Team Ariana all day.
Sandwich shop, something about her.
Yeah,
yes.
it's all of that. That's really the only person that I care about. And yeah,
I'm just
I don't
ready
care
to be petty overall.
Yeah, I don't care about a dumb, horrible interview on a podcast with a celebrity. No.
Now that was mean.
No, not to you.
I know.
I'm just saying in general, like what you're referencing.
Yes.
I'm just like, you know what? They can keep it.
Oh, it's taking up so much of my Instagram now that I feel like I'll never return from this.
Well,
it's just, I liked too many things. I sent too many memes. And now it's just like only Vanderpump Rules. And that makes me sad, but also it's feeding into my content curation for the 2 separate group chats I have about this.
Great.
So yeah, that's how I'm doing.
Okay. Good. Very happy to hear it.
Like, should we like talk to our guests now?
Yes, yes, we should.
Okay.
We should express how excited and happy we are to welcome our guest here. How are you, my friends? Oh, you both can speak at the same time. Oh my God!
Let him go first.
It's
we're
fine.
good.
Yeah,
No, we're excellent. We're excellent. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to sit down with us and buckle in for this roller coaster of a conversation.
It's gonna get weird.
It's gotta be a good time. Absolutely.
I'm wearing my seatbelt.
Sick.
You know what? I was just like, that's a wonderful answer. So,
a little bit of self-introduction.
Yeah, because I can never do it justice, and I think you both are absolutely amazing. So
you've also been yourselves your entire life. So
True.
This is also very true.
You have the most
confirm.
information.
Yes.
We love being us.
Yeah.
You know what? No one does it better. No one does it better.
And who are we, Michael?
So we're Wild Edible World Podcast.
Love that.
We love to talk about the wild plants, mushrooms, and other. And sometimes we're trying to get in some like fish content and stuff, like some invasive species too. Try to prioritize that a little bit. But we love teaching people how to go and find their own food.
I fucks with that.
I love that. Okay.
So there's 2 of us. I'm Michael.
I'm Steve.
Love that.
welcome, guys.
Yes.
Thanks.
Welcome so very much.
I'm very excited to ask a lot of questions because I have super limited experience foraging. I
And
did
I'm
it,
excited to learn.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
whoa. This is,
and you know, I think that people are getting more and more interested in it as foraging is starting to like make its way into the internet, which means that everyone can find out about it. Crazy when I think about it, but
how do you think they found out about us?
I know the fucking internet, man. It's I was just talking to someone about how millennials and Gen Z view the internet differently because like we were there for like the beta version of the internet.
The dial-up.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like they came
I used to
in.
stack those free AOL like CD.
And
I was just
we were like out here
wow.
playing games on the internet and ASLing, and we walked so they could
oh
run.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think there was hope too for the internet too. That could have been some sort of great bridge of information between everybody. And
Right.
I think the generation after us has realized the cesspool that it can be as well. You know?
But like they also know how to find things on the internet that I could never find.
For sure.
Like the information that they access, I'm like, I personally have never been on Reddit. And I feel like I could learn so
What?
much from. I know.
No, I
don't know how
honestly
to
haven't
internet.
either.
Oh, wow.
Not on purpose.
Yeah,
I follow,
Reddit
like-
is the internet.
I follow like Instagram accounts that are like from Reddit. And so I get like snippets of it. But when I look at someone like on Reddit, I'm like, how the fuck do you know how to do that? It seems like it's not for me.
Do you know what kind of blew up Reddit
What?
very recently?
What?
Scandival. They were talking about that shit left and right all over Reddit. They were just like, this is that, this is bullshit. And I was like, you know what? I didn't think that y'all cared.
I've never heard that word before 2 minutes ago.
Okay, well, we're on different parts of Reddit.
You could live your entire life without understanding anything that we have to say about Vanderpump.
Did you know what
It's okay.
Sandoval was, Steve?
I've no idea.
Scandival?
Scandival, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
before you leave, I have a video that
Oh my
completely
gosh. Oh my
that's
gosh.
completely
Yeah,
like
it's a flow chart. I can
Yeah.
guarantee you it's a flow chart of
It's
like,
like-
all of the shit.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's like
No.
two dudes who knew nothing about it, and then one deeply researched it and explains it to like a regular dude, and he's like, oh, I get this. He's like, I've been hearing about it, but I didn't care because it was like not any brown people, but like this random white bro took his time to do the chart, and this person of color gave a shit. It was great. Yeah.
I love that.
see, we're able to learn from each other right now. I'm
Exactly.
learning something
Yeah,
from you guys.
see, you know, I would just.
You can
You
throw
know,
it all out the window.
Yeah, I was
too.
just like, that.
You don't need it.
That one can just go like straight into the damn.
It makes
dumpster,
no
you know?
sense.
No, but
But we're here.
yes,
Wait, did you ever
yes, we
watch
are.
Friends?
No.
Then never mind. The other explanation I have is for that demographic of people. So don't worry about it. Friends is meh.
Yeah.
Kind of interested.
Oh, okay. So
Okay,
someone
well, yeah,
explained
go-
it
Yep. Go
as
ahead, Mary
like-
Beth. Yep.
if Chandler and Monica, it's like if Chandler cheated on Monica with Rachel, but Joey knew the whole time.
Oh my god, that makes so much sense, and that makes me so angry. That makes me
Like
so
if
angry.
people watch Friends and you explain it that way, they're like, oh, like I get it. So yeah, I'll show you the it's not even 3 minutes. It's like less than a minute.
And if they all
Flow
work
chart.
in a restaurant, like it's just
That was the first intro.
okay,
They
yeah.
work, it's front of house at a restaurant, but none of them really do that anymore,
yes.
except for Rachel. Moving on.
Yes. So, yeah. Well, with that, thank you and hello and welcome again
To the Friends podcast.
Yes. right. Right.
Scandival.
Yes.
And
oh my god.
thank you.
Yes.
Look at that learning.
So
With that being said, what's your sign?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Splatibarius. I'm a Taurus.
oh, your birthday's coming up.
Sure is. May
Yeah.
the 5th
May
or
the
4th.
Oh, I
I was like,
You
second of
messed up my
mile.
own birthday.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
I might have to see proof. You just messed that up.
May the-
And I was like, I don't know.
Driver's license, social security
No,
card.
May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be-
which is
I
kind of like
love
a
it.
newer thing, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know someone that got married on May 4th. Ryan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Ryan and his wife.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to have to go ahead and cut down that extended pause there. Because I was like, who the hell are you talking about? Hi, Ryan.
It's a wonderful day to do things on. Get born, get married.
Sure.
Top
know?
to bottom.
Get born, get married.
Yeah, it happened to me. I didn't ask for it.
I mean, this is fair.
I feel like it makes sense.
Because this is our per episode tradition.
Yeah.
So.
That, like, y'all would be people that would do this and do this together.
A Taurus and a Sagittarius?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you dip into that
So-
a little bit?
Yeah, I have no idea.
For me, Sages are people who are like very focused in on things that they like about, and they could talk forever about the things that they like about. And they're interested in what you have to say, but I feel like it's a toddler moment where you're like, as soon as the other person stops talking, you bring it back to something that you can talk about. I do that a lot. I have a Sagittarius moon, but I also think that they're like some of the most like ready to go do anything people. Traveling is usually a big thing that they're into. I think it's mostly about the like new discovery aspect of things. I don't know. I love a good Sag. My nephew is 18 months younger than me, and he calls me auntie, and it makes me feel fucking crazy. But he's like someone that has taught me so much about doing things that make you feel passionate. I'm trying to adopt that trait, but it's hard. So that's like my stance on the Sag aspect of things.
I think.
Tauruses. Oh. Some of my favorite people are indeed Tauruses. My best friends, Mike and Julia. And very logic-based people will tell you I was going to say truth. It is a truth, but I think it's more like honesty. Like if you want someone to tell you exactly what they think and how they feel, a Taurus is good for that. Also, loves luxury, naps, snacky snacks.
Got me there.
Yeah.
And like,
I was like, is this tracking for you, man?
Oh, absolutely. Snacky snacks and nappy naps.
yeah, lounging and luxury is
Oh,
used
shit.
to describe Tauruses frequently.
I'm the biggest lounger.
It's a mood.
Lean on everything.
I love that.
Never
Okay.
fully supporting my own body unless I'm like walking through the woods.
It's like also some sort of like torture matrix, I feel like, is built into the minds of Tauruses, but it's like it turned within.
Torture matrix.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Like for you, you're like, oh man, I could do these things that make me feel good, but sometimes I like to lean into my sadness.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you like do a
Yep.
bunch of stuff so that you don't lean into the sadness, but when it happens, it's a commitment.
If I know better, yeah. Usually,
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Working on it.
Listen,
But you got
can
me.
only
You got me
evolve.
there again.
So yeah, that's my little thing that I like to do sometimes from time to time at the beginning of every episode. But
Okay.
yeah,
It's like a nice little icebreaker to see, like,
and then you know
Yeah.
I use my bachelor's of science and education to analyze the conversation after that.
also very true. So, yes. So, my friends, as we
Thank you.
are going to get into this lovely conversation, can you talk to us a bit about your respective backgrounds and how you have come together to do the wonderful things that you're doing that we're going to talk extensively about?
Sure. I mean, do we want to start like how we got together for the show, or like just kind of our general? Okay, so
Yeah.
like general backgrounds.
Like, who are you?
Who am I? So I grew up in rural Illinois,
Okay.
Farmville, USA. Corn 1 year, soy the other, and it's a lot of lacking for natural opportunities. So when I was around 20 years old, my whole family kind of moved up to the Chicago area for one reason or another. And I'm here too now, have been for about a decade. And,
Same.
Yeah. And just thank you. I feel so welcome. And it's honestly the transition from the central part of the state and moving upwards to the northern part of the state has completely given me a 180 on my perspective about the state in general. I've
can only imagine.
I've gone from a hater to a lover, man. I love the Great Lakes region. I love Chicago as a city. I think it's one of the best cities in the world. And I think the suburban area is one of the most lush and green suburban areas that in as far as large cities like Chicago are concerned. And just the accessibility and connectability from every city to, you're always 5 or 10 minutes drive from a forest preserve. And that's what matters to me now.
Yeah.
That was like a serious Chicago hype moment.
That was good.
That was awesome.
Awesome. Dude, I fuck with Chicago.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's awesome.
All you got to do is take that moment and put the mustard on and you're set.
Absolutely.
But do you like it boiled or broiled?
I'd say broiled. I like a little char.
Yeah. Char dog it is.
I'll take it any way I can get it.
All right.
My man.
You said it.
My man.
Love it.
All right. So, and when we moved up here, obviously there was the eye-opening moment of, like I said, how lush it is up here. And it just kind of, you get curious. And I'm a very curious person. Maybe that's a Taurus thing.
Oh,
and I think the same reason that a lot of people are becoming interested in foraging and finding your own food, and also the affordability of that.
Right.
I was feeling that same thing a couple of years ago, or several years ago, and just feeling a little less food secure. So I really leaned into it, wanted to find that niche for myself. There's that Japanese concept called the ikigai, where it's a part of what can provide for your community, what provides emotional sustenance for yourself, and also provides, I believe it's like money, but I find a secret third thing, and that's your ikigai. And I feel like foraging and teaching people about wild plants is the way that I can provide the community, provide a living for myself, hopefully, eventually, working on it. And it's something that I love as well. So, putting love into what you do is a huge thing. I'm sure you guys have talked about it on the show before. Like, love changes what we do, be it in a magical way or in a realistic scientific way, and for the love for foraging has changed my life. And I wanted to bring somebody else that I had known that had been doing a lot of foraging, and that we had talked many times about finding new plants and where can we go, and like just somebody else who's excited about it as me. And that's when I brought it, making this show with Steve. And
we already talked about your love for snacks.
And we already talked about my love for snacks. And this just brings the whole world together, baby.
Yeah.
I get to talk about stuffing it in my mouth. It's just all delicious. Innuendos?
I'm here for them.
So it's kind of a funny story because Michael and I have a similar background in how we started foraging, basically finding ourselves outside at a young age, but by totally different avenues. So Michael grew up in rural. I grew up in Joliet, born and raised in the burbs, and my family was pretty poor growing up. So get your ass out of the house. Go do something. You find yourself in the woods, things like that. So, that just kind of tied everything together as far as, that beginning background in the woods, and then learning how you can take those things and make them special, and make them taking having nothing
and making it into something
out of it.
Alchemy,
for sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. That's kind of how we ended up there.
See, I was the kid that went outside in the yard, and like growing up in Trinidad, we had like all these like actual fruiting trees and plants around, but I would like smash them into the ground and pretend that I was making food with them, and then like make my nephew eat it when my mom was like, don't do that. But I never thought of it as like something that I actually would like take inside and eat, even though I know that's like what we did. My mom tried to grow a fucking, I don't know what it's called. In Trinidad, we call it patigal. It's a peely clementines. Thing. Yeah. She tried to grow one of those, and for years, it like never produced anything. And then all of a sudden, it started like growing shit from it. And it was just like they never ripened, but my mom was so proud of it. She would put them in my lunchbox. And I would just
cute.
throw it out in school because it was like dry and like sour. And it wasn't good. Maybe now as an adult, I'll be like, this has some sort of like chefy take that I could do. But when you're 7, you just want a
Right.
snack. No snack.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like the opposite. Like I wasn't aware of like foraging as a thing until I lived in the States. Because I feel like in Trinidad, everything was like so much more accessible because you like grow it in your yard.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas in America, there's not as much of that in like people's personal gardens.
You mean in capitalistic America?
Well, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it. I have a green card. I don't have. They're listening to me.
Okay.
They're not listening to you.
Fair.
So
Fair. So then, for those people that don't know, which there's nothing wrong with it, exactly what is foraging?
So foraging is the act of going out and procuring your own food. Food or, honestly, supplies. You know, I like to think of gathering fibers, dead grasses to weave into baskets and stuff. You know, that's its whole process. But that's foraging. Dumpster diving. Guess what? That's foraging. You know,
that's like
Yeah.
urban foraging.
that's urban
Yes.
foraging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going out
Huh.
to a forest or your yard and collecting dandelions, that's foraging. Going to a national forest and harvesting morels and giant mushrooms or other plants, that's foraging. Catching fish, in my opinion, is also kind of foraging, although that borderlines on hunting. But there are some, I guess, not catching fish. I'm kind of generalizing, but like I like to think of it harvesting with your hands.
Okay.
Or very, some tool, there's tool adjacent stuff, but I think it's very tactile and hand involved as well.
I've caught a fish with my hands before.
So that's what I'm saying.
really?
That's
Just
what I'm
saying.
saying.
That's
Just saying.
badass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Joliet.
Yeah. I was like,
What are they? Noodling? You noodled?
I was like, oh my
I,
God. I was like, don't let a fish touch
50-50.
touch his hands. No.
I'm
good.
50-50
I'm good.
into the idea of noodling,
Yes.
but I also the idea of like sticking my hand into the unknown.
Yeah.
What if it's not a catfish?
Yeah.
That's the part that
Well,
scares me.
I guess part of that is like knowing how bad it could be. So I've had those thoughts too. But
Okay.
then you just like do the Google and you say
Okay.
like, okay, what's the most dangerous fish in Midwest rivers or whatever? And there really isn't one. You know, you can maybe catch some spines from a bluegill or a bass or something, but
Sure.
for the most part, they're avoiding you as well. So noodling is kind of like, you're not necessarily like reaching into the depth, just kind of letting the environment acclimate around you
Okay.
a little bit.
I definitely didn't noodle, for the record. Yeah. No, I stuck my hand in the water and grabbed a fish like a bear. Like a bear. Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah.
What do I know?
I just didn't want people to come to me for noodling advice.
Okay.
And then I don't know what the hell to tell them about sticking my hand in an abyss or anything like that. I don't
Got
know.
it.
I just,
Well,
I
hey,
just
don't
grabbed
come to
the
me
fish.
for advice for
Yeah.
noodling either, because I've handled less fish than Steve. So
Yeah, and I've handled
don't
zero.
I
so,
don't
yeah.
fish, but I could break down your fish for you.
And
there
I
we
mean,
go.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
like it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. I mean,
That is an absolute skill.
Absolutely.
the idea of putting my hand in whatever unknown, the number one thing that I will always think about is how I'm deathly afraid of snakes.
Oh, sure.
Like, I don't care if it's like, oh, just fire up the Google machine. And the most dangerous snake in the Midwest is a garter snake. You will not see me there. Okay.
enough.
Like, no, it will not, no.
I don't fuck with snakes because they don't have the part of their brain that forms like loving attachments.
They're
So I-
not, like, they're,
They can't
I'm not
love
gonna-
you.
like, I'm not
they
gonna
will recognize you and be familiar with you, but they don't have that like love situation. So I'm into like lizards because they could do that.
see, I did not know that, but also.
I learned that from Crystal's partner, Maggie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But also, I just feel as if there are certain animals that when
Aren't
you're
for
in
us.
their home,
Yeah.
maybe you should have knocked first.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Like, I don't
100%.
think
Yeah.
that you should just show up there, because if they decide that they're gonna like go over your feet, like when I was like 11 and turned into like fucking Flojo when this like garter snake went over my shoes in like northern Illinois. Yeah, I don't even think I ever saw that friend that I visited that house ever again.
Oh my god.
Seriously. No, like it's that bad. And also, random tangent, my mom is from Arkansas. So like deep south, Helena, Arkansas, the town that time forgot. If anyone happens to be listening to this in Helena, Arkansas, you can do better.
Oh my
You
god.
can do better because there's not much going on down there, and the firefighters currently, God willing, they were strong young men when my mother was a little girl.
Oh my
so
god.
when we would go and visit, they were very old men that also were just like, "Hey Dolores, how have you been?" And she's like, "Wow, they're still." I was like, "Yeah, this is the town that time forgot." Okay. And so when she was younger, she's like out in the bayous with her brothers, and she ends up getting bit by like this like fat black snake, and they like stomped that snake out. And my
right.
mom has been traumatized her entire life. You can't like, there can't be a snake on TV. You can't talk about a snake, nothing. So naturally growing up, I thought they were the coolest things ever.
Oh
So
my
I did
God.
like research papers on them. I had like books on them, and I was like, "Oh my God, these are amazing." I know so much about snakes. It has turned into a phobia. Okay.
Incredible. It went all the way back around.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like do you know what the biggest snake in the world is?
No.
It's
Yeah, I
okay.
don't.
Okay, it's a reticulated python.
Never
okay?
would have said that.
Yes, most people would not, because you would assume that it's an anaconda. But no, it's a reticulated python, and the largest on record at, up until the point where I stopped,
Paying attention.
Was 36 feet.
Incredible.
And
don't want
also,
that.
do you know how they search for anacondas in the Amazon?
No.
They wade into the river. They just wade and then thump, and then they all reach down and pick it up.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
No
so
thanks.
so the idea of putting my hand or whatever anywhere, no, it's not. No, but I digress from that because
I just discovered I have a new phobia.
yeah. I'm
Damn.
sorry, but it is what it is.
I was
And-
going to tell you about the time my brothers used to throw a fake snake at my sister all the time.
No.
And
No.
she got so desensitized to it that one day when she walked out of the house in Trinidad and a real
No.
snake fell on
No.
her, she was shaking the shit out of it,
No.
yelling at my brothers, and then realized that it was a real snake and promptly threw it on the ground and ran away screaming.
So that is me about to pass out just listening
Yeah.
to that. I had a neighbor, and this is going to wrap up this whole snake situation. This is
what happens.
Yeah, I know, but I had a neighbor that found it hysterical that my mom was terrified of snakes. And he had like a plastic snake that he, like rubber snake, he put underneath like a wagon in the garage. I thought my mom was going to sell the house that day.
Oh my God.
Because
Wow.
I mean,
That's
the way, and also she has never spoken to that man to this day.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, absolutely not. Like, if she was going to have a heart attack, that would have been the day.
Fuck his couch.
Yeah. Yes, it was awful.
Okay, so foraging.
Yes, right back to nature. Let's get back into nature.
Now that I've had a little bit of time to think about, I want to refine my answer about what foraging
Okay.
is
Okay.
a little bit, and give you a new overview
Okay.
that it's correctly identifying, it's finding, correctly identifying, and harvesting useful or edible plants and mushrooms.
Okay. Awesome.
That's
good.
Just wraps it up in
Yeah.
a little bow.
Very nice. Well,
Also, dumpster diving,
Yes.
I mean, that
totally legit.
tracks. But so I would just like to acknowledge these wonderful spirit-free
Oh, man.
beverages that we
for
have been
sure.
enjoying.
I just chomped
Compliments
that cherry.
Yeah, I mean, very well said. Shout out to Cheyenne English, aka Miss Perfect Pour, for this Walk the Plank, which is featuring Ritual Zero Proof Rum Alternative, Cold Brew, Pineapple, and Cherry Bitters.
Yo,
This is so good.
Yes.
Super yum.
Yes.
I just
NA
did the
bitters.
cherry thing and took a sip. Delightful.
Yes. This
Well,
is,
you're not going to say chomp the cherry too? What,
Sorry.
is it weird?
You know,
Chomp is just not like a thing that I
Not in your
say.
vernacular?
No, it's not in
I
there.
mean, I had a nice sip of this. I love how much everyone is enjoying it. Coffee's not for me,
Fair enough.
but this is lovely.
So good.
Absolutely fantastic.
You gonna eat that cherry?
Nope.
Give me.
Okay. No worries there.
You
There
snooze,
are.
you lose.
Yes, no
No,
worries
yeah,
at
what a
all.
loss.
I know. I mean, it's
Not
wild
into
out
cherries
here.
too, or is it just because it touched coffee?
Oh, it's because it's such coffee.
Damn
Yes.
it.
Oh,
yes, it's
It fell
literally.
in.
Oh, we'll see. Everything's gonna be just
I'm
fine.
gonna have to drink this one too.
So
Merp.
I'm interested to see like how does this work motivational for you both? Like I understand that it's education based, but then it's just like what other elements of it like motivate you to keep doing it and like really investing your time, expertise, so on and so forth.
So, I mean, flavor.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's
That's definitely a big portion of it.
it's fun as hell. It's combining all the things. Again, it's just like trying to find all the things personally that I love, which is like going on walks outside, having yummy snacks, and then all of those can happen at once. So
Right.
I'm very food motivated. So just the opportunity to find flavors that you can't buy.
That is another Taurus fact. Heavily food motivated.
I mean,
Oh, Taurus fact. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, being able to just go out there and find new flavors that you can't get in the store, you can't get at a restaurant usually, and then being able to harness them for myself. What about you, Steve?
For me, my mother's one of 13.
My
So-
mom is 7 out of 15.
Cranking them out, right?
Yes.
So we are no strangers in my family to sharing, and this includes like knowledge. So when you find these delicious, nutritious ingredients, showing other people and teaching other people how to find them and how they too can benefit from this, it's a win-win, for everyone.
So it's interesting on my end because we had an episode back in season 1 to where we talked a lot about like grocery stores because we were sitting down with, I believe, Angela Diaz, and we were really focused on, her business model, which at the time was focused on, CPG, so consumer packaged goods. And it's fascinating to hear about like flavors and like flavor profiles that you can't buy. Like that seems wild to me.
Oh, exactly.
Like, yeah. But like, I see what you, yes. Yeah. So like what?
Like what?
Yeah.
Well,
Like, are there any examples that I could reference, or it's just you have to experience it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's stuff that a lot of people know, and this isn't necessarily the best leading example, but like morels, I would
gosh.
never experience morels if I had to pay for them. Let me just say that. Like, I will not pay for morels, and I would
I feel
not
like
have paid
ramps
for
are
morels
like
before
that too.
Yeah. But I
by
also,
the pound, like the amount of I guess maybe I'm a little spoiled because I have a little bit like what we're able to harvest whenever you go out there and you find it yourself. The amount that you'd have to pay for, and the amount of money you pay for, and what you get from that is not satisfying to me.
Yeah,
I never would have tried morels if I didn't work in restaurants.
same.
Sure.
I would have never known about them.
Yeah.
And I would say that for the vast majority of people, most people, when they think of mushrooms, they think of, your normal button mushroom that you find at the grocery store, pre-sliced, probably pulled, weeks ago and just packaged and shipped and whatnot. And if you've never had hen of the woods sliced and
Yes.
sauteed in butter,
Yes.
a little bit of salt and pepper, and you've never had a mushroom.
Oh my god.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah, 110%.
So
Fucking hen of the woods.
Mm.
Exactly. One of the best
Solid
mushrooms
call.
out there.
Yeah.
So other things that you can find that you wouldn't be able to get in the grocery store are things like spice bush. So it's called Appalachian allspice, and they're these red berries packed with fat, but with that fat comes like aromatic absorbent properties. So basically it's its own little spice bomb that is like, I mean, it's called Appalachian allspice. It's got like heavy citrusy flavors. It almost kind of opens up your sinuses. It's got this like Szechuan almost numbing effect. It's this really, really awesome spice. I didn't put it in the persimmon jam that I brought with us today. But,
You got jam?
We got jam.
Yes.
So we brought some jam, and that's another thing that you're not going to find in stores. Of course, we're gonna taste it, and we'll see what you guys think about it.
Yeah.
And in this
Snacky
jam,
snack.
I guess, is another example of a fruit you're never going to be able to find in stores, probably because it has such a small window for comfortable consumption, I guess I should say. So they need to be hyper ripe, like super, super ripe. To the point where, like, you know, a banana would be basically turning to mush and falling apart. That's how you want an American persimmon to be. And they're smaller. They're about like easily 50% of my palm, the size of
Golf ball.
a golf ball. Yeah.
Okay.
And they, because of how unwell they age, I guess, it's not appealing for the American grocery consumer to have a bunch of squishy fruit sitting. I mean, and it can get really messy because if it's not fully, completely mushy ripe, it has this pretty strong astringency to it. And it's
Okay.
not toxic, it's just unpalatable. But as soon as it fully converts all these sugars, it becomes the most delicious, sweet, incredible, jammy
Tastes like caramel.
so
good.
and dates.
Yeah.
It's an incredible fruit, but you're not going to find it in stores, just like pawpaws. So
I was gonna-
pawpaw.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you started describing it, I was like, pawpaws have to be like that before
Correct.
the whole thing. Also, I was very confused the first time I heard that we were bringing pawpaws into the restaurant because that's what we call papayas in Trinidad.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? This, and it also looks like a mango, but a bean mango on the outside, and then you open it up and it's like weird custard banana pineapple filling. I don't.
Exactly.
That's
It's
how I like to think
fucking
about it, like a
weird.
banana and a mango.
Yeah.
And it does look like a legume on the outside.
Yeah.
And it is a relative of the mango. So you're absolutely on the right track for all
She's
that.
weird.
Yeah. So yeah, the pawpaw. I love talking about pawpaw. That's North America's largest native tropical fruit. And that's another one you're never really going to find in stores, probably because of its color. You know,
Yeah.
Americans are very concerned about the visual quality of their foods.
Correct.
And so whenever you have overripe bananas, they tend to not sell unless you market them specifically for banana bread or something like that. And pawpaws are kind of the same thing, except they also come with the territory of most people not knowing what the hell they are in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of it, you have them a brown mass on the shelf.
She's tall.
And, oh God, these cocktails look good.
Yes. Spirit free.
Spirit free.
Spirit free, my friend.
Spirit-free cocktails.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mocktails.
Yes. The Heckle in Jest is what we are enjoying now.
Oh, she's spicy.
Again, coming from Ritual Zero Proof, but with the whiskey alternative, finished with blood orange, ginger, and lemon juice.
Wow.
And what?
Oh, what's that rim?
Yeah, what is this on the rim?
Tagine?
Oh, okay. Some
Habanero.
habanero tagine. Okay. Tahine, tagine.
This is good as hell.
So
Yeah, it's
good.
Damn
fine.
it.
And this
Very
is
fine.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
The flowers are a very nice touch.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yes. I'm like, wait.
God damn.
Just a nice kind of like green beanie taste. Like very fresh. Yummy.
So,
This is so
What?
damn good. God.
absolutely. Thank you, Cheyenne.
Thank you.
So, one thing I want to touch upon is there, I don't want to say like the dangerous side of foraging, but there are like a multitude of ingredients that look like one another, but they aren't. Right?
Yeah.
And they can be poisonous. So how do you? I mean, I assume it's just through education and there's ways to tell them apart. But if you
Happy
are-
snacking, don't die.
Yes.
I learned that from
yes,
Black
Black
Forager.
Forager.
Yes.
Yes.
Alexis.
Yes.
Rules.
yes,
She's the best.
yes,
I met her and I word bombed
that is correct.
for a long time. Justin was there.
Yes.
So nice,
Yep.
but also like
Yes,
word bomb.
yes.
Yeah.
When I met her, I like shut down because it was like, well, I mean, she's so busy all the time. I don't want to. We're friends. We chat on Instagram, and it's like I don't want to like be like, hey, this
Yeah.
is what we're actually meeting. Like everybody else is already like coming up to her, and so. But yeah, she's an awesome person, nicest
Yes.
person, as nice and as funny and cool
Yes.
as she seems
Yes.
online.
That's what I
Such
said.
a genuine person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lovely
Except
woman.
to her because I was word vomiting.
Good for you, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been more complimentary. Yeah.
You know, and I was like, it's very nice to meet you. That's I'm like, I know who the hell you are. I'm gonna walk away now because you're amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the don't die part, yeah, very
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Very
Don't
important.
die.
But the important thing to remember is that if plants looked that much alike, then they would be the same plant. You know,
Yeah.
they're different plants, and there are identifying characteristics. So it is about education, but it's also about building a relationship with your environment. So you want to build a relationship long term with the plants that you interact and you plan on seeing every single day, or that you are interested in harvesting. So one thing I like to talk about a lot is taking tons of pictures. You know, you take pictures of every single plant. If you're curious about it, take a picture of it. Figure out what it is later.
Right.
See what it looks like a few months after that. Be damn sure that you got the right plant if it is in a dangerous family, such as the Apiaceae, like wild carrot. That can be mistaken for water hemlock,
Yeah.
which is the most deadly plant in North America. That is
Really?
Absolutely.
Is that the one with the white,
Yeah, I was like, what is that?
The white
flowers on the
flower.
top,
Correct,
and
yeah.
one has like a dark purple flower in the middle as like a differentiation between the two? Like you could, if it's flowering and you can tell.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is kind of a smaller window of time than some of the other characteristics that
Okay.
can be used to identify. We don't have to necessarily go break down that plant right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are a variety of different qualities for that specific plant as well, including the flower, hairs on the stem, color on the stem, lots of things. So it is something to be mindful about, but you can also get killed bowling. You can get killed, doing all sorts of silly things.
Yeah.
So,
We were bowling yesterday for her birthday.
that's kind of synchronistic. I don't know why I brought that
Yeah,
up.
I was
but-
like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, look at that. Yep.
I only kind of broke one nail, and it wasn't a long one, so it was a success. Because bowling with this is difficult.
and you got them things, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
But okay, so I was going to be like, so when you're out there and you feel confident that you've identified something and you've spent the time doing it and you've checked all the boxes, can you snack on the go confidently? Like, if I see something, I'm like, what if it's like, I don't know. I panic. I'm scared.
If you're ever not sure, then
Then don't
eat
do it.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
eat
Yeah.
it. I've only ever put things in my mouth that I am I made that mistake once early in my career, and thankfully it wasn't like, I'm not playing with that big of a fire. It was
Okay.
between Ramps and Lily of the Valley, which can be kind of an easy beginner mistake to make. Thankfully, Lily of the Valley, not super toxic, didn't swallow it, put it in my mouth. Like, I had been handling Ramps, so the smell was on my
Oh,
hands.
yeah, so
I
you-
broke the leaf to check it, and
Smelled it.
I thought I smelled it. Or I'd been handling garlic mustard or wild onion. There's a variety of different alliums or garlicky, oniony, smelly things in the woods.
Yeah.
And so I thought I had it, and then I tasted it, and it was like, this is definitely like bitter grass, and I spat it out. So beyond that, after that, I mean, that is a lesson, because then you start to freak, like you said, I'm a paranoid person as well. You start to get kind of scared. You freak out. I I feel my throat's a little itchy. Does that mean it's about to start closing up? Start furiously WebMDing or whatever, and like,
and it's just like death.
Yeah, you're dead. You're already dead. How are you Googling this? But no, after that, I can confidently say that I've never put anything in my mouth that I'm not 100% sure is edible. And then within that, there are still some caveats of whether your personal body is going to interact well with it too, because we all have different bodies. So that's one of the things that you kind of encounter with pawpaws even. It has one of the, like, there's a cilantro gene for pawpaw. Some people just think it tastes awful when it's cooked. I don't think it tastes awful. I think it tastes freaking awesome. Yeah. But I do know some other foragers in the community that think it's terrible when it's cooked.
The good news about that is that there's never been a better time to start foraging than now. Because you have the internet, you have all these reels and Instagram videos, and
just
there's
resources
in general. So many different ways
for
you to double and triple check, like we always preach, triple ID your ingredient. But there's never been a better time than now. Check out these people that are dedicating their time and making it their livelihood to make this content. And I mean, it's just foraging mecca right now.
Absolutely. No, it's the prime time because you do have the access to people who have been doing it without social media for their whole lives. People like Sam Thayer, who wrote some of the most impactful identification books, and he's up in Wisconsin for you. So for us Chicago folks, that's a huge freaking deal to have somebody, a lot of these foraging guides and edible plant guides are made by people that are out on the West Coast or up in New York even. So you get a lot of coastal activity. And really, whenever we talk about the history of North America going back to pre-colonial times, the Great Lakes area was where it was freaking at. Like, this was a huge population of and still is a huge population of indigenous people. And the amount of food that was and still is here, is what sustained populations of humans for thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
True.
And the way I like to think about foraging, so you forage seasonally. So morels, you have a few weeks to find them at their best, and then they're gone. They disappear. So I'm a gardener in my personal life. The way I like to think about foraging is imagine the best, most nutrient-dense ingredient grown by the best gardener. That's Mother Nature out in its natural habitat. And so that's why you can find all these delicious things that are so unique, and so that's why they're like ramps in the culinary world. They're so prized, is because there's nothing really like them. There's things that are similar, like green onions, but you can't.
Ramps are lit.
It just has like a heat to it. It's got a punch. It's different,
and you could use like every part of it, even down to like the roots. Dehydrate it, pulverize it, ramp powder.
So would you say that foraging is a part of agriculture? Because I have a follow-up question to that one.
It should be. It needs to be more part of it. Is it currently?
Can be. Sure.
Yeah.
Is it currently? I'd say no.
Okay.
I'd say agriculture as an engine and as a industry, I think foraging is antithetical to it.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to pay anybody for it.
Yeah.
Nobody has to grow it. You don't need an entire warehouse full of chemicals to make sure it grows.
Foraging
it just happens.
Is like forever, because that's what we did initially. Agriculture came hundreds of years later,
and that's
and we've just forgotten about it. That it's like
it's been a part of our lives since, far more than agriculture ever has. And agriculture has done wonders for human civilization, and we're the fact that we're able to have cities and recording equipment like this, population density like that is somewhat due to agriculture. But
100
there were cities, and there are other types of agriculture that happened in history that did incorporate foraging and natural gathering and still fed massive cities with people, and were less harmful and less impactful.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked is because trying to draw that line between people that would believe that, foraging is a form of, let's say, like urban agriculture, right? Because last season, we sat down with Mecca Bay and Boyza Itaji of Sisters in the Village
100.
on the South Side, and their whole like call to action is to grow your own food, to be one with the earth, because just as Black women, that is how they felt a connection to their ancestry, right? And so I think it's very interesting on the foraging side of like being out in the wilderness, being able to identify things that, have sustained us for centuries, right?
And the fact that Black and brown people made it known to like colonizers that this is like what the land has to offer.
Yes. So and
They
that's
rewrote
why
all of Pocahontas, but they got that right.
right. Right, but that is really the reason why I asked that question, because there is such a like a dichotomy there.
Sure.
Right? Because it's just like on one end, it's just like it's foraging, which feels it feels very specific to a socioeconomic class versus like growing your own food and like tethering the earth from another socioeconomic class. So I think people that are listening will be like, oh, like they are in tandem with one another, but it's two different experiences. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, foraging is kind of like, and I feel like I've referenced this before on the podcast, but
I like how you always say the podcast, like it's not your podcast.
oh my God, I have a problem with ownership.
It's okay. Yes.
But so in college, I wrote a paper for my construction of whiteness class about how whiteness is sort of like nature. It's everywhere and like no one notices it because it's just like part of what it is. And I feel like foraging is sort of like in there like that because technically like urban settings have like disconnected from foraging. But if you grow up in a place where nature's around you, you're more inclined to like understand it. Right. So in part of the paper of like whiteness being like nature, the connection that white Americans have with nature is different from that of Black and brown folk. And I think that goes back to when laws were made to keep Black and brown folk out of like national land, which took away their gathering areas. And I think that foraging became disconnected to minority groups because of that. And now it's like, now that foraging is like becoming a thing again, and Black and brown folk who have a history with it, but don't talk about it because it's like the connection and the community with the land, you would never know that these are the people who started it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And that illegality was by design. That was a type of cultural genocide, and what's it called? Whenever you're bringing in these people and forcing them to be a part of a system that they're not a part of, that they are directly interfering with by procuring their own food.
I call that Christopher Columbusing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When you come into a situation and you're like, I don't know what's been going on here before, but this is it.
But it's mine.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing,
You're about to get 1492.
Yeah, hard.
part of agriculture too is this attitude of like, I don't know, a lot of what we're dealing with now in the case of invasive plants and invasive species is this European mindset that is like, well, I have no idea what all these plants are here, so let's just bring all the stuff that we already know from Europe over here so we can actually use something in this place.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, everybody else around them is like, what are these guys doing? And like getting in, like their mustard garlic is like encroaching on their ramp patches, and Europeans preferred mustard garlic or dandelions. I mean, dandelions have become a naturalized plant, but they are introduced from Europe in colonialism. Back in the 1700s, we brought dandelions over as a medicine and food crop.
And honeybees as well.
Honeybees as well.
That's why we brought the dandelions to
feed the honey.
Early food crop for the honeybees.
God, yeah.
Exactly.
Never know.
Yeah.
Until you do. And now we fuck the bees.
Well,
Well, you know.
We're gonna have to edit that extended pause there too. But yeah,
Why can't we leave awkward pauses? Let people feel it.
And the belches. Let's
Yeah,
you know,
season 4.
release the belch cut.
Yeah, see, it's happening.
Yeah.
That should be the next poll.
yeah. Okay.
Just one entire episode of belch.
Oh
after
my god,
belch.
that would be a real.
Clip them all together.
yeah.
Yes.
No, I was just like,
Disgusting. I love it.
We'll leave that up to Marcus and Nariba to talk about that. So, it'll be.
I want everyone to know that I'm gross too. Women can be gross.
It's
Everyone can, right?
everyone
Yeah.
can,
You're right.
Yes, I was just like, it is your right.
Damn right.
Yes.
Reclaim your grossness.
Yes.
I do every day. I'm basically like a frat boy on my own. So like
It's like
my
crushing
friend
beer cans against your forehead.
I mean, my first apartment here in Chicago, we definitely had like camping chairs as like a
Nice.
form of furniture for a while. We
Real.
only got a couch because my roommate and best friend had a nervous breakdown about not having a couch before 25. And so I spent 2 weeks before her birthday trying to find us a couch.
What's
and
the bed frame situation like?
You know what?
Mattress on the floor life?
Oh,
still?
I did that up until
We're nailing
I'm
these long pauses.
yeah.
It's great.
I did that up until
was kind of a weird question.
25, 26. Definitely a mattress on the floor person until I was 26. And then I got like one on Amazon
Yeah.
and that changed my life. I was like, oh my God. But I prefer my mattress on the floor because I have cats and like I don't want anything they can get underneath because then I can't get them out. So, but I am going to have a bed frame like a normal person.
Someday.
Thank you, my brother and my sister, for buying it.
Hey
for
man,
me.
happy
that's
for
just
you.
a silly rule. You don't need a bed frame.
I know, but it makes me feel like a grown up, and there's a lot of things in my life where I don't feel like a grown up. So I'll take it where I can.
That's fair.
I'm also looking at one with a headboard now, but I'm Googling to see if I need that.
Getting wild.
Yeah,
I know.
I was like,
I never had one. Kind of
like-
want one.
Get the
there's a
walker
lot to
ready.
unpack.
There is. That's
yeah.
a rabbit hole right there. That
I mean, that
we're just.
I was just like,
All right.
no abyss for me there.
no
okay?
noodling.
No
No
noodling.
noodling. No noodling. No. So let me see, because I want to talk about how the outdoor experience, like the access to like wilderness and things like that. Again, just go back to socioeconomic class, and especially if you're from an urban environment, outdoor shit seems so distant. We're very fortunate here in Chicago to where, yes, you have access to the Great Lakes and so on and so forth, but there is still so much pressure in being in an urban environment while trying to enjoy the outdoors. And there's something inherently peaceful of removing yourself from that urban environment to go out to where like nature is thriving. And how do we how do we figure out ways to just promote equity like with that? Because it sounds great to be like, hey, like, you can go out to, I wouldn't even know like the closest place.
Yeah.
But you can go like 30 minutes outside the city and like, you can forage and it'll be absolutely fantastic. And when this episode drops, we will have an experience together that we're certainly going to touch upon by the time that this wraps up. But I'm really interested in hearing your thoughts on bridging that class gap in wilderness accessibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that it's pretty multifaceted
Yeah.
too, because I mean, unfortunately, I think in the last few years, people have valued their time more. Since
Right.
we all got a really good look at what time is.
Or
sitting
what
at
time
home,
wasn't.
or what time wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the unfortunate portion is that for a long time, foraging and things like that were like a lower class thing, because
Yeah.
you were foraging for your food. You were if you're from the lower caste of society, you're trying to put dinner on the table. And unfortunately, our current economic model keeps us in the restaurants, in the workplace.
Yep.
So you don't have that extra time. And now it's more of like a upper class thing.
Leisurely.
You have
It's a
this
luxury.
leisure.
Yeah, it's a
you have this-
luxury, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
And that's
This
what I
is-
was getting to. Like, foraging sounds like
For
a
sure.
luxurious thing.
This goes back to that same fucking paper that I wrote about. So, like, camping was a thing that I talked about, where in America, the poorest of white people have access to camping, whereas, like, urban areas, it's only being used as a tool to, like, get underprivileged kids out into nature to give them a break from their reality, and then they can't access it afterwards. And it's like, how will you give people tools that they can't use? So like, I think with foraging, especially like here, I think it's something that people could have more access to, because there's like metras here,
Sure.
like you can try to like plan something along the metra, so that you are able to get out into places that have these different things that you're looking for, and you get to experience that. Safety wise, that's my thing, is like, how do you know where you can and cannot go? Like,
Right.
trespassing things. Like, I think that for me, it's more of a safety and security in foraging.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm not wandering. Like, for example, morels around the Starved Rock area, they provide a lot of the morels that the restaurant industry is using here in Chicago. And like, those people will shoot you with a gun.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we be as safe as possible while accessing this lost tool?
That's a good point.
No, absolutely. And that is something that, it's still a struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to bridging the gap of like, I think it's important to have more Black outdoors creators. There's Black people outside, the
BB out
Instagram
there.
creator. BPO. They're a great account. They're a great Chicago couple.
I love them.
They fucking
Hilarious.
rock.
Yeah.
And it's just a joy.
And they just did it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, but it's I'm sure it's difficult for someone to take that leap when there isn't that sort of infrastructure
Yes.
in social media like there is for white people already. The traveling and all that stuff. It's all the outdoor stuff, the world travel accounts and the camping, the luxury camping, all that stuff. I totally agree. And it's the freaking struggle. And it does have a lot to do with safety, because Black people have been able to be legally murdered whenever you're caught outside in these natural areas. And up until relatively recently, it was illegal for Black people to be in those areas.
Yeah.
So there is a absolute history and honestly probably generational trauma about experiencing natural environments and going hiking and stuff like that. Just because it has been so societally reinforced that it's only for certain people. And I think now that is starting to change a little bit. Obviously, there's more Black creators than ever doing things outside. And hopefully that brings with it, the change, especially
A chance for change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to like foraging laws and stuff like that. A lot of people are asking the questions like, why is this illegal?
Yeah.
And there's only a couple answers for that.
And not many of them are very good.
And yeah, none of them are really good the more you think about it. So
But I think in order to like to progress that movement, I think you have to lean on each other. Groups, power in
Absolutely.
numbers.
Yeah.
So start a group in your neighborhood. Make a page on Facebook or whatever social media you have. Band together.
I feel
I
like
just see a whole bunch of Black people going down to Starved Rock looking for morels and just like fucking it up, and I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
Yo is always trying to get me to go camping and do outdoorsy things, but like I'm also from a third world country, and I came to America to avoid nature, and now I'm out. And like after going to school in Vermont and like really learning to like love seeing and being around, I feel like I didn't take advantage of it while I was there, and then I moved to Chicago and I was like, oh shit, nature was fucking everywhere, and now I have to like drive out to, first of all, the first time I went like into southern Illinois, we were driving to like my friend's brother's wedding, I think in like Arkansas, and we stopped at a Culver's, and I thought
Helena, Arkansas.
No,
Okay,
Grubs.
I was like, keep it.
Grubs.
Okay, Grubs, Arkansas.
Yeah, don't make fun of it. That's where Crystal's from.
I'm not making fun of it.
Okay. I made fun of it. I was like, when we drove in and it was like Grubs, the population was under 350 people. I started laughing.
That's probably total too. Like all the time.
I was like,
yeah.
I was like, I am from a Caribbean island and somehow I ended up in this town.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Like fucking frogs were kamikazing themselves into the side of the car as we're driving, and I'm like, where are we? Anyway,
Arkansas.
We stopped at a Culver's and I got out and we walked into, and everyone had like an accent, and I looked at my girlfriend at the time and I was like, where are we? And she was like, we're still in Illinois. I was like, oh shit.
It's a long ass state.
Yes.
I just Chicago. You know,
Yeah.
I forget that
Yeah.
it's inside of Illinois.
Yeah, when my grandmother and subsequently my grandfather passed away in Helena, Arkansas, I drove from here to Helena, which, my God, the amount of time I spent in this state.
Yeah.
I was like
half of it.
Yeah, I was
She's
like, you
long.
have got to be kidding me.
Too long.
And so we ended up like pulling over somewhere in like southern Illinois, and it was myself and my cousin Marcus, and my cousin Marcus is significantly darker than I am, and the gas station clerk was like, where are y'all from? It's like, oh, just Chicago, we're passing through. She's like, you need to be careful out here. And I was like, okay. And then I had like that small thing. I was just like, well, where am I?
This
and
is
then
the
I was like,
purge.
and we're still in Illinois.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm like, I grew up knowing things like that, like in Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
And then also, I think that was like a 17-hour drive. Oh my God, it took
Oh my
forever.
gosh.
And I thought that I was going crazy because we ended up crossing the Mississippi like 3 times. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, we're going over another goddamn bridge over the same damn river. And I was like, what mistake did I make? And ultimately, when we were driving back after my grandfather passed away, we're in some back road in Arkansas, end up getting pulled over by like, a very like Dudley Do-Right police officer who wanted to know everything about us when like we ended up being, I think, like 12 miles over the speed limit. Like, just give us the ticket and like, we'll go back to where we're coming from. But it was those very, very recent incidents that just reminded me of like, the further you put yourself out there, the more uncomfortable it can be without appropriate support.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, I've been from Chicago like my entire life. But also, I was just like, yeah, it's Illinois. It's fine. Apparently, not always. not always. And then
Damn
Arkansas,
shame.
I was just like, I spent my like childhood growing up there. I was like, oh, it's entirely fine. But then also, my grandparents are buried in a black cemetery
Gotcha.
Wow.
because That's
what?
That still exists.
because that still exists.
What?
That's a thing.
I
Yeah.
didn't know about that until right now.
Jeez.
Yo, America be wildin'. This is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Facts.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And that's a conversation for another time. But just remembering driving up to like, this beautiful lush cemetery, and then we're driving alongside it, and you just keep going, and there's like all this wilderness, and then like the road gets rough, and then, I was like, damn.
Mhm.
So it
Wow.
goes all the way back to, this is supposed to be accessible to everyone,
Yeah.
but it is prioritized for not for everyone. Like I'll just leave
Correct.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
And as we're approaching time, I wanted to ask you, what do you think is something really important that the industry should know about foraging?
This is a great question.
Yes.
Thank you.
So it can be a lot to unpack, but I think just trying to be short and sweet is it is out there, and these ingredients are available to us, but just because they're out there now doesn't mean that they'll be there forever. So you should treat them as a precious thing and like a treat rather than something that you're entitled to.
Yes.
So
Which is
respect the ingredient.
Yeah, which is why I like earlier brought up like the ramps thing,
Yeah.
where in the last couple of years I became more aware of the fact that like you shouldn't pull them up by the roots. Sort of like leave something there to be there again. So I've started like focusing more on clipping the leaves instead of just ripping up the entire plant. But I will occasionally, if I could see the bulb a little bit, I'm like, okay, you're mine. Because like if it rains, it's going to wash away and I could just like eat it.
Sure.
So I like try to be more mindful of how I'm collecting things instead of like hoarding it for myself. Just like, all right, like if I know I'm not going to use all of it, then why will I take all of it?
Sure.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as the industry is concerned, it's I agree with Steve. Absolutely, that's a really important point, that it's about maintaining it forever. It's like when it comes to ramps and stuff, that's also, harvesting the whole plant is a very contentious issue, and here in the Midwest.
Well, Chicago is named after ramp.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
right. It comes from a derivative of the word Chicago, which is skunk onion, or probably, whatever their word for the leek is. And harvesting the whole plant, when it comes to the populations we have in Chicago, it's not necessarily that bad, but you still want to be, like you said, there's mindful harvest involved. I don't support pick shaming at all, but you definitely want to make sure that you're not harming the plant, that you're not harming the populations. A lot of the times whenever you remove one plant from a very crowded area, you're actually helping the rest of them get bigger and more full. And so when it comes to the industry and foraging, there's opportunity out there for everybody to find new flavors and everything, and it does seem like an abundance, and it can be fun and exciting. But yes, definitely be conservative as far as how much we're pulling out. It doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. All right.
God damn.
But I also want to
Yeah.
mention that
Yeah.
as far as morels are concerned in the Chicago area, you guys mentioned a couple times that you go all the way, that like you don't have to go all the way down to Starved Rock.
Oh, I
to
have
get
never
them.
gone to Starved Rock to get morels. I just know that they're
Just
out there.
the implication
Yes.
that was made that, morels can be found in Cook County. They can be found in the neighboring counties as well. And definitely take some friends out with you, practice, safety. And when it comes to, someone that might attract a little bit more attention than other people at forest preserves or other natural areas, be as discreet as possible. Don't be carrying around clear plastic bags, but practice a little discretion. And don't be shady about it, but, have a backpack or two.
Just be mindful.
Be mindful.
So I feel like you both painted a really clear picture between foraging and agriculture with your last response.
Yeah.
That's like, I just have to say that because with how you both gave your independent insight, it just like made sense about how this is something that is a treat and should be cared for because you want to ensure that it's sustainable. Agriculture is a different
it's like
side of that.
Yeah.
it's almost like the opposite. It's like we have this.
Yeah.
How can we make it bigger?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And you could feed
How can we
everybody.
continue to emulate this and grow it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And wild plants can be a source of abundance too. I think our current diet practices and the agriculture is a huge part of that. We make way more than we need. If we really did get what everybody needed, I guess need is kind of a pretty hazy word, but I feel like what is out there for us already is enough and is more than enough.
Right.
And we don't have to have these harmful practices of absolutely depleting the earth and the soil. We can have regenerate, living harmoniously with nature. I guess that's kind of a utopian idea, but it's like, how did we get here? And it wasn't from abusing the earth this whole time. At some point, we worked together with it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Meh.
Nariba, do you have any additional questions as we wrap up?
I could just be weird. That'd be weird.
Do it.
All right.
Get weird.
Okay. So, if you could bring home any one animal from when you're out in the wilderness foraging and have it as a pet, what would it be?
An ermine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
For sure.
What?
Yeah.
You answered that so fast.
Yeah. Well, I
what
already
was
know.
Wait, what was...
You don't have a wild animal that you would want to bring home?
No.
Oh my gosh, I had that thing loaded, ready to go.
What was the,
Yeah.
what was the answer?
Ermine.
A what?
An ermine. So they're like almost like a ferret, like
Yeah.
a wild weasel. Hunted for their fur.
Okay.
Unfortunately, super fucking cute.
Okay.
They turn white in the winter.
Yes.
Okay.
That part I do know.
All right.
I'd be watching David Attenborough talk about anything.
With that.
I love it. What about you?
I just don't know, man.
Yeah,
A
right.
raccoon, I guess.
Oh.
I mean, it's kind of stereotypical, but
Okay.
I don't
I
have
mean, that's
something
fine.
cool like ermine.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I don't know. I'll keep it like local, which is everywhere I fucking go, especially at this time of year. There are rabbits everywhere. No one told me about the rabbits in Chicago, and it just happened, And recently I was like walking to my job, and it's like in the Lincoln Square area. And this rabbit didn't even fucking flinch. I was like ready to pick it up, and it didn't move. And then I got scared, and I kept going.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
like,
that would be...
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what's yours then? Oh, Justin.
A snake.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I'm not, I'm not outside like that. I'm not, and
Come on, make me look better and just say a cat or something.
I would say a fox.
Oh,
Nice.
That's a
I'd
good
say
one.
No,
fox.
that's better than what I had. Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
Foxes
Fox is good.
scream like babies are being murdered.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going
Okay.
that direction.
So we're
texture.
passing around this American persimmon jam that I've made from persimmons that I collected last year. So there's an interesting bit of astringentness that's still kind of inherent in it at the end of the taste of this. So your mouth kind of dries out at the end.
It's okay. So I wasn't expecting the texture of it going into it.
A little
But the
crystallized.
flavor is also exactly like what you described.
Yeah.
It's giving caramel, brown sugar realness. It's very sweet, like a honey almost type. I like that.
The fruit,
I like this a lot.
the fruit's
Yeah,
still
like this a
warm
lot.
from the sun, either off the tree if you're lucky, or on the ground right next to the tree if you're still very lucky. Is just incredible.
So this is more
So
like
good.
preserves than it is jam, I guess, because it's very heavy on the fruit.
Yeah.
It's very pulpy. Have some more.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Yes. So,
God damn.
So that was just made with fruit and sugar. Easy peasy. But what were you going to say? Sorry.
well, I was just about to do the things that, we do to wrap this up.
like
but
that.
before I do that, how was your time with us, my friends?
Wonderful. This is great.
Sublime pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
Was it nice
This was
and
so
weird?
This was fun.
Oh, was it?
I thought
I
it was
was like-
great.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was like, this was lovely. And so,
Especially these drinks.
I know,
Jeez.
right?
Oh man, another shout out for these
to Cheyenne
non-spirited-
English, aka Miss_Perfect Pour. You can
Yeah,
find
right.
her on Instagram with what I had just mentioned. But so
That first one, I like the first one better.
see, and
Yeah,
I am
the
all
whiskey is
about this second
cherry.
one.
Well, that's because you don't like
Because-
coffee.
I mean, these are the facts. So
Yeah,
I want a
Coffee
bottle of
was-
each to go. I don't. I,
I
like
mean, I'm
them.
sure
I
we
like
can
them
figure
equally.
that out.
Well, part of her whole
yeah.
thing is
Yes,
that
yes, yes.
that's available.
Yes.
She be making beverages to go.
Absolutely.
Word.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that off mic. But yes, absolutely. Yes. So, how do the people find you, my friends?
So we're on Instagram and Facebook. You can listen to our show, Wild Edible World Podcast, just about anywhere. But if you want to find us on social medias, you can find us at Wild Edible World Pod. And then personally, I do lots of free wild edible food education on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Check me out on TikTok because I get like 10 views. I need some help.
I'm
What's your
gonna
name?
follow you.
Edible_Illinois. How about you, Steve?
On TikTok?
TikTok, Facebook,
Follow it.
Instagram, everything.
I'm not on TikTok. I'm on Instagram.
Same.
Okay.
You can find me at my main account is Stevie, like the Pokemon Eevee, like
Yes.
Stevie Cantu. I also have my podcast account, Snoop Doggy Dogwood. And I'm
Because he's
not.
just way too good at creating usernames. Like, why not just make a bunch of Instagram accounts?
Which, admittedly, I'm not as active on, but I mean, whatever. You can find me.
Whatever. Listen to him on our show. He's active
Exactly.
there. That's
Out here in these
Yeah.
streets.
Absolutely.
Well, not in the streets, in the forest preserves.
Yeah.
In
Actually,
nature.
Out in the wild.
yeah, we found wild edibles right across the road from here. So.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple bushes that are planted ornamentally. They're aronia berries. Also,
Right
but
across the street.
What?
Black Forager calls them booty hole berries.
Booty hole berries!
Oh my gosh. Well,
Let's
Very
take a
com- very
walk
common
over.
trope.
yeah, I'm like, whoa, nature surrounds us all.
Absolutely.
So,
Well,
right.
that's one of the things we try to press is that even in the cityscapes, there are tons of ornamental plantings that are still useful, whether they want them to be or not.
Right.
I definitely eat like these flowers on my way into work at the Riverwalk that they had last year. Well, one, they had snapdragons, which are delightful. And then the other ones are, I don't want to say they're begonias.
Peony?
No, they have like pink petals, and it's sort of like when you bite into it, it's like a juicy rose flavor. Like, I don't know. In my mind, I can describe it as something called Pomerac or rose pear. It has that sort of like flavor profile. It's used in a lot of fine dining as a garnish,
Sure.
and for cocktails as well. But yeah, it just like the city plants them, but they're edible, and people don't know that. So it's like, you know, the more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Shooting
I'm
star
sure the city
rainbow.
would not want you to know that because they'd be like, excuse me.
Then
Yeah.
stop growing corn in Millennium Park.
Right?
Also,
If
that.
you don't want me to eat it, don't put it there.
Yeah, okay. Well, on
But
that
don't stop
note, yes.
growing corn in
Fair.
Millennium Park. Leave it.
Fair. Well,
Keeping it tight.
you know, I just want to obviously thank our guest once more for joining us and educating me specifically, because this was phenomenal. So thank you. Also, supreme shout out to our home studio. Supreme shout out to our home studio here at Blind Barber Chicago for hosting this necessary conversation. Also, Ritual Zero Proof for their support. And again, Cheyenne English,
Yes.
aka Miss Perfect Pour, for
Yes.
the amazing beverages and stepping in for the Garnet team. Max, thank you so very much for everything that you do. Colin on the documentation side. Also, Marcus, Cortez, Alex, Rick, Jason, Travis, everyone that comes together to make this a thing and keep us pushing and, you know, just being awesome as we keep making season 3 happen. And
Yep.
we have a lot of amazing things coming up that I can't really talk about. But then also with my friends here, we're going to be going on a foraging trip
Oh, yeah.
with our
Yeah.
friends and outsiders. But you're going to hear about that like after the fact, because like this is dropping after the fact, but you're going to see it on social media. So yeah, thank you
Can't
so
wait
very
for
much.
that. Thank you
It's a-
too. This has been wild.
Yay.
I did it.
Very nice, very nice. And on that note, I am Justin Arnett Graham, and you can find me on Instagram at thisisbiko.
All right. And my name is Nariba Shepherd. I just want to point out before I do the spiel that this is the second time that I have done the setup for the tables
Oh my
here
God.
in the
Oh my
studio.
God. Oh my
And
God.
Justin has not edited it.
my God.
He
Okay,
did put
yeah.
one thing on there,
I
but he
did.
didn't take anything away.
I did.
So,
Yes.
success.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you
Wonderful
damn
job.
right. I'm owning
Wonderful
that
job.
shit.
That's great.
You can find me on Instagram at Rebaru, REBARU. And just remember that foraging is something that you can do.
Yes, and you can find Nariba at her upcoming design studio, Rebaru Designs, also on Instagram.
Oh my
Just
God.
kidding. Peace.
Never.